Hello, sixth graders. It's Miss Muniz again for day 2 of Supporting Details. Our lesson last time, we talked about debate articles, nonfiction articles. We talked about an article discussing whether virtual online learning was a pro or a con. Again, you can have different opinions on that. The article presented both sides, which we broke down into 2 columns of against and for virtual education. We had 3 supporting details from each, which we found by looking at our subheadings and our title. We looked for key words in the subheadings and titles, that we wrote down synonyms or other words that we thought of as well when we saw those keywords. And then as we were reading through our article, we looked for those words that could also link to the subheadings and the headings or subtitles, right? So we found 3 points for each. And then I asked you to look at a similar article, similar structure, nonfiction article about a debate called a gym jam, right? Whether PE should be required as a part of education or not. So I did the same thing that we did in our last little virtual education lesson on supporting details for a gym jam with whether PE should be required or not required in school. I had a should not column and I had a should column. Sorry, the should's a little hard to see. I went through and I found 3 ideas for each. Again, my wording might be a little different than yours, but as long as it's somewhat similar to these points about the supporting details, you're on the right track. And if, maybe you had a little trouble with that, hopefully today's lesson will clear it up, or you're welcome to go back and watch the first day's lesson again. So today we're going to look at another article, but first let's go over these answers from our homework. So for students should not be required, or let's do should first because that was the structure of the article. It was should first, right? So it said that it fights the problem of obesity, having PE in schools and getting students active, right? Having that active time and active space in school fights the problem of obesity, which is a growing concern both worldwide and in the US. The second one was that it says that PE is fun. A lot of students love PE because that's their break from the core classes of science or English or sitting in a desk all the time. It's their time to get out and move, to get out. Especially because around middle school, that's when a lot of times people don't have recess anymore and they don't get that movement break that they've been used to in elementary school. They also said, and the third point that I have is that it can help build self-confidence and team building skills, right? So it's saying that in PE class, sometimes you have to work together on a team for team sports, or that, if you do really well in class and other people see that you're doing great on a team, that it can build your self-confidence in that as well. So that's what I have for my should column. I'm going to move on to my should not, which is the second half of the argument and the debate, right? So for should not, it said that students should be offered other electives that might interest them, right? I mean, PE oftentimes is considered an elective as a physical part of our education. But what about theater? What about visual arts? What about band, right? There's other things that students might find interesting, or you might find interesting, that you wish you could spend time in school learning as well, but you can't because you have PE. So it's saying that it should be offered as an elective, but you should be offered other choices. The second point that I found was that students might be a little self-conscious to work out with their peers in school. They might not be the most athletic, and so that might make them nervous to be doing that in school, and they might feel pressured, or they might be picked on because that's not their strength. They might be excellent in English, but maybe gym isn't their strong suit. So they might feel really self-conscious about that, so it's not the best way to help our students with their social emotional needs. And the third point that they had that I found is that there are alternatives to gym class that aren't running a mile around the track, or that aren't playing basketball every day, right? That maybe you could do a yoga class, or you could do archery, or you could do different forms of physical education and physical working out that you still get your body moving in that healthy way, but that aren't maybe as tough as some of the gym classes that we kind of see going on now. Or before, I don't really know what you guys are doing in your gym classes. I know a lot of our gym teachers at Huguenot do a lot of different ways that we can do some healthy alternatives as well. Again, if you would like an extension activity to either of these articles and you want to practice your writing, this is not required, but if you want to practice your writing, always something great. I would encourage you to write, a piece about, a paragraph maybe, whether you think you agree or disagree with whether PE should be required in schools or not be in schools. Or if the other article that we talked about last time about virtual education, if you really enjoy learning this way, the way that we've been doing the last few weeks as we've been home, maybe you can write about how much you've enjoyed that. Or if you really don't like it, if you know it's not working for you, write a paragraph about that. Okay, so think about how you would want to express your feelings and why you think that it does or doesn't work for you or should or shouldn't be required if we talk about this article. When you're writing your own supporting details, you want to think of 3 reasons why, right? In a paragraph, you want to think 3 reasons why you love or you hate virtual education, why you think you should or shouldn't be required to take gym in class. So think of 3 points why, and then kind of weave that into your paragraph, right? Your first sentence could be something like, I think the PE should be required in class. My point is that I loved PE when I was a kid. I really enjoyed that break, that mental break. I got to just kind of stop thinking about my classes for a little bit, stop worrying about the test that I had just taken. I could really just expend some energy. And then my third point was, maybe I have a lot of homework when I get home. Sometimes teachers assign a lot of homework. Sorry. Teachers assign homework and so you feel a little swamped, and that's the only time that you get to go out and run around, right? So maybe I don't have time after school, so it's a nice time to do that. Those are my 3 reasons, right? So I can put just 3 sentences, boom, boom, boom. That's 4 sentences already. And your last sentence could be something like, these are reasons why I don't believe that, or I believe that PE should be required, right? So let's move on to today's article. Again, this should be on the link underneath your video for this one right now that you're watching. You are welcome to follow along as I cast it or present it onto the screen here. We're going to be talking about tigers today. I think that some of you may have seen a lot of different information about tigers or shows in the news. So I thought this article would be kind of interesting to you guys to learn more about tigers themselves. This article also has great resources. Like I said, it's going to have the reading at the top. This one has a lot of pictures. But this article isn't going to have a debate. It's no debate. It's just going to be talking about one common theme, which we know that I said is tigers. So let's kind of look more about that. I'm going to switch it so that you guys can see the article and follow along with me. All right, so you should be seeing the article now. We are looking at the article titled Tiger Watch, all right? So I want you to do the same thing that we did last time, but this time we're gonna do it as kind of a group here. We're gonna do it as a group of all the titles and the headings. We're gonna look at all of them. We're gonna look at Tiger Watch, which is our title. So let's write down Tiger Watch, right? I'll do it with you. I'm gonna write down Tiger Watch here. All right, so Tiger Watch is our main title. Right? Our next one we can see right here, Hunting for Help. That's our first subtitle, Hunting for Help. All right. So maybe, just thinking about it, maybe it's the tigers that are looking for help, right? Who's hunting for help? All right. Let's see. Our next subtitle, oops, sorry, at the bottom. Our first subtitle actually is Dangers Threaten Big Cats. Sorry, it was at the bottom of the article. Dangers threaten big cats. Right? Because tigers are felines, they're cats, so that's why we're calling them big cats. Again, that's a synonym for tiger. Remember, when we're looking for our title, we're going to look for synonyms throughout the article to help us find what is relating back to our main idea. So, dangers threaten big cats. So for our next one, Born to be Wild is our next subtitle. So I'm going to write that down, Born to be Wild. Our next one is Double Trouble. Double Trouble. I like that rhyme there. And the last one is Hunting for Help. Hunting for Help. If you look down at the bottom of the article, then it goes into tiger trivia. This is a part of the article, but it's going to be kind of a sideline thing to give you just some more fun facts about it. It's kind of like a little Q&A at the end that gives you some more fun information, but it's not going to be super tied to our article that's going to support the main idea necessarily. It's going to just give you some more fun facts about the article if you're interested. And those have some cool pictures with them if you would like to look through those as well after we do this lesson. So looking at our title and our subheadings, we have Tiger Watch, Dangers Threaten Big Cats, Born to be Wild, Double Trouble, and Hunting for Help. Okay, when I look at these, those are going to be my clue in to what the main idea is, as well as what we're looking at the supporting details to be. Because Tiger Watch, that when I think of watch, I think of, there's a watch you can wear on your wrist, but I think of something I'm looking for. I'm maybe spying, I'm seeing, I'm searching for, right? So maybe it's hard to find them, all right? When I think danger threatens big cats as the first subtitle, right? That's usually going to introduce our topic. That makes me think, well, maybe the tigers are the one that are looking out for something. Maybe they're worried about something, right? What's threatening them? That question of what is threatening them, what are the dangers to these big cats, gives us a huge clue into what our supporting detail is. So I'm going to circle the words on my paper. I'm going to circle the words dangers threaten and put a little question mark next to, because I want to know what dangers, right? So sometimes I like to write that down too, so I can kind of keep notes to myself. So I wrote down what dangers, right? So I just wrote that down on my paper. If you had the article printed out, or if you printed out the article, I would write that and I would underline it in the title or circle in the title and write what dangers next to it on a piece of paper. But like I said, I am writing on my piece of paper separately because I don't have a printer. So if you don't have a printer, you're right in the boat with me, so you can follow along with me just on a separate sheet of paper. All right, so my first question from our first subheading that I think is going to be a supporting detail is what dangers? The next one, born to be wild. If it's born to be wild, then I think that, maybe they're going to tell us more about their environment. So I'm going to write down environment on my paper, question mark, because these are all just questions I'm thinking of, right, that I'm thinking I would need as supporting details to know more about these tigers and this topic, right? So the environment. Double trouble is our next heading. So that's making me think it's going to tell me about two big issues. It's going to tell me about two big issues. Double means two, right? And then hunting for help, maybe there's a solution. There are solutions at the end, right? So on my piece of paper, I have Tiger Watch written at the top, which is our heading. I have dangers threaten big cats. I circled dangers threaten because that makes me think of what supporting details do they have? What are these dangers they're trying to tell us about? I have born to be wild. Maybe they'll tell us about the environment. Maybe that has something to do with the dangers. And then I have double trouble, which tells me there's going to be at least two issues that they bring up with. And the last one, hunting for help, I'm thinking maybe they'll give us some solutions to these issues. All right, so I want you to take a few minutes, go ahead and pause this video and go ahead and read through the article. When you're done, you can go ahead and click start again, but go ahead and read through the article because then I'm gonna start talking about what the key points I see are, but I would like you to take a few minutes and read through the article yourself. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and read through the article. It's not super long. As you can see on the sides, it's 728 words. All right, so I'm hoping that you have read the article now. Hopefully you've clicked unpause and you're ready to discuss the article with me or maybe with a parent or a peer, sibling. So on my paper, I have now written down some things that I have found through this article, right? So we have our title, Tiger Watch, right? Dangers threaten big cats. We have what dangers, right? What were some of those dangers that threatened them? And the first section of the article doesn't necessarily go into those dangers, but it does tell us the rest of the article is going to talk about that. But if something doesn't happen, these tigers could go extinct, right? It's talking about how a lot of these tigers are dying and becoming extinct in a lot of these areas. The next section, Born to be Wild, is where we get into our supporting details. In this section, we have some facts and statistics that we can use that they have used as supporting details. A great way to find supporting details is to look for numbers and percentages and facts, statistics like that, right? When I say statistics, I'm thinking percentages a lot of the time. Or if it says a fraction, maybe 4 out of 10 people think that you should, I don't know, go outside every day, right? So the statistics that I found in Born to Be Wild were that 7% of their range, the tiger's range or habitat, has, that's all that they occupy now. They only occupy 7% of where they used to live. So that means that, if we were living in the whole United States, I don't know exactly which state would be 7%, but let's say that all of a sudden there were only people living in Virginia, but the rest of the United States, there weren't people, right? Again, I don't know if that's numerically correct, but it's something like that. There's a huge decrease in where they can live now. These tigers can live. It says that that's 40% than 10 years ago. That's 40% area less area than 10 years ago. That's a huge shrinkage, right? If we lost a huge amount of land that we were allowed to live in, that'd be a huge deficit to us, right? It also says, the last little statistic or information numbers it gives us is that there were 9 types of tigers that used to be wild, but now there's only 5 species left. Some of them, they haven't technically been declared extinct because they said that the South China tiger hasn't been seen in the wild for 25 years. It could be that there's one hiding out there, being sneaky, but they haven't seen it. So it's pretty well believed that now there's only 5 types of species left in the wild. All right. So I have 3 big supporting details there. I have that they've lost a lot of their habitat. It's 40% in less than 10 years ago. There were 9 types of tigers, and there's 5 species now, right? Sorry, that's the 2 that I have. And then we're going to move into our next section, which is double trouble. And I have that the threats, right? These are the threats that we're talking about from our first section, which says dangers threaten big cats. We're now in double trouble, our 3rd section. It says that there's 2 major threats are habitat loss and poaching or illegal hunting. And then it gives us 2 examples of that, right? In Russia and then in Indonesia and Malaysia, other Asian countries, right? The habitat loss, it specifically talks about deforestation and losing jungles for different reasons that humans destroy them. And then it talks about poaching, that there's a lot of demand for the fur and meats of tigers, sometimes even the bones, because of traditional medicines or ancient practices that are used by different communities. Okay, so my 4 main points that I have now. I have that under the Born to Be Wild section, I have that they have lost a lot of their habitat. And indeed, they've lost 40% in about 10 years. They've lost 40% in 10 years. 9 types of tigers to only 5 types of tigers in the wild. And then now we have the 2 threats, again, that they're specifically talking about: habitat loss due to deforestation because of humans, and poaching because there's a demand by humans for fur and meats and sometimes the bones of the tigers, okay? Those are my 4 supporting details, the overarching supporting details that support the idea that these tigers are being threatened, right? That there's a watch out on what is happening to these tigers, these animals. All right, the hunting for help section, the last one, is our call to action. A lot of times in articles like this, there's going to be a call to action like, you can help these tigers too, or how can you help them, right? So the hunting for help section at the end, the kind of a little conclusion piece, talks about a worldwide effort to double the number of wild tigers within 12 years. This article was originally written in 2009, it said at the top. So it's not talking about 12 years from 2020, but 12 years from 2009. Sorry. And then it's talking about how they want to do this through education, through better protection of tigers from hunters, and to lower the demand of tiger products in different communities, right, or communities worldwide. So we talked about how, again, looking at subtitles help us to immediately kind of think of questions of what details do I need to know about this main topic. I'm going to switch back to off the screen. Stop presenting. So we talked about looking at subtitles and then immediately thinking, okay, what do these subtitles, what do I need to know about tigers or their environment or their situation to know that what's threatening them, right? To know what's threatening them. So I have, again, on mine, I have a breakdown of the subtitles and their headings and the different facts, statistics, the breakdown of the 2 threats that it said in Double Trouble that immediately told me what those 2 threats were and those supporting details of the 2 examples that it gave, right, in Russia and in Malaysia and some other Asian countries. And then hunting for help was our call to action to kind of get us thinking. So for the homework that I want you guys to look at, I have another one that is kind of similar to how, you know, there are certain species that are going out of, going into extinction. I want you to look at the article, Worldwide Loss of Bees, a Growing Concern. It's going to be a little bit similar to the article. It's going to be a little bit longer, maybe a little tougher, but I want you to really look at those subtitles, those subheadings again. Look for words that, you know, kind of link to those and you can think of, make you think of, you know, again, I said watch, it makes you think of searching, hunting, and then dangers, threatens. Those were the kind of words I was trying to key in on when I was reading them. So that's what I want you guys to do for your homework. Again, as an extension activity, you could maybe research other animals that are on extinction watch list or in danger of becoming extinct. Maybe you could come up with some facts or statistics to support that as well. But for your homework, I would like you to read through. I would encourage you to, again, write down each of those subheadings and then underneath them, bullet point the facts, statistics, the details, the supporting details that support the main idea of the article, which again is that bees dying out is a growing concern for our worldwide community. All right, I look forward to going over that with you tomorrow and to practicing some more supporting details. Good luck with your homework. Again, feel free to reach out to myself at emunis@rvaschools.net if you have questions, or to your 6th grade teachers, who I'm sure would be happy to help you with any of this. But thanks again for tuning in for Supporting Details.